What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Taurean Rain Reloaded channel. And as you can see, I'm doing a very special Bed Bucking Hall of Shame video, even though it's on somebody I've already gave multiple entries to. But it's the first time that I'm doing it as a collab with my special guest, Kid Gravity, who, by the way, I wasn't even planning on even talking on this. I don't even think I told you this, but I wasn't even planning on doing a Hall of Shame video again on Stephan A. Smith when it pertains to this, because I'm like, okay, he's going to keep on dragging this thing, I guess, to keep people guessing on what this beef is between him and Kyrie Irving. But then when you had reached out to me and said, I want to be in on this one, so I said, you know what, let's do it.
Yes, yes. And by the way, before we start, being in the Hall of Shame is so nice. There's so many faces and names on the wall, family. You know, Taurean built a nice little, he's building a museum like Tariq did. There's a lot of names in here.
Yeah,
But
and
yes,
like I
this
said,
is so nice.
yeah, and like I said, this, of course, everybody knows who's watching. This is his. This may be shit. I'm losing count. This might be his third or his
Yeah.
fourth. I said, and I was telling you before we got started, him and Fakem are competing for
Yes.
multiple entries, because I think out of everyone that I've done, these two right here have surpassed two equally
Yes.
for multiple reasons. And to be honest, I think I might be getting Fakem again based on some stuff that I recently heard as it pertains to another topic. I was telling Rob a while ago, I said we have enough material on this dude to do at least one collab a week. But who's trying to like deal with that every single week when there's so much other stuff we can talk about?
Nah. But I did want to get in on this because, full disclosure, I actually found out that I lived a block away from this dude growing
From
up.
Stephan A. Smith?
Yes. When
Wow.
because one of the clips that we're going to show, ladies and gentlemen, he's told Howard Stern where he used to stay at, and that was actually the block over from mine. When you cross the street, you're on my block. So I was
Yeah.
like, I did not know this. I knew he was from Hollis, but I didn't know exactly where he was from. And when he said it, I was like, that's literally across the street. Yeah.
Terrible. But to give some context on what me and Kid are going to be talking about today, it's the ongoing saga of what I equate to being a scorned ex with Stephan A. Smith in this so-called personal beef that he has with Kyrie Irving. Now, y'all remember I did a video about Stephan A. Smith in this situation a couple weeks ago about him being on his show and talking to Jay Williams, who of course is a black man, and telling him to his face on his platform, by the way, that there's nothing personal going on between him and Kyrie Irving. But then he went on Pat McAfee's show, who was a white man, and told him that what him and Kyrie got going on is personal. So I thought that was the weirdest thing. So this is a still ongoing saga, but now another player has entered into the arena, and that would be Kyrie Irving's dad, because apparently Stephan A. Smith has issues with him. So now it's like the plot is thickening, but it's not that thick either, because Stephan A. Smith is not telling people what it is. He's putting it out there that is a personal issue between the three of them, but he's not saying what it is. And the thing is, Kyrie's not saying anything. Kyrie's dad is not saying anything, but Stephen keeps bringing this up. It's like, can we just get and close this chapter? Because it's not like you making it seem like it's a long, dragged out soap opera.
He wants them to respond, but Kyrie and his dad aren't built like that.
Exactly.
They're not going to respond. They feel like Stephan A is lesser than them. So what's the point?
He is.
Right. He's got enough to focus on. He's about to go to
Right.
the playoffs, and there's high expectations on him. He has to get to at least the conference finals.
Okay, exactly.
Right.
So we have a couple of clips that we're going to go through, and an article. We can probably set the article for the end, but we want to get to the visuals first. And shout out to Kid Gravity, because he actually provided pretty much all the clips that we're going to be going over today, including this one that I didn't even know existed. And this is one where he was talking to
the hypocrisy.
Howard Stern, of all people. I said, when I saw that, when I heard that you said Howard Stern, I was like, this can only go south very fast.
And family, y'all are going to like this clip. Now, this clip was 2 months ago. You're going to like this clip because Stephan A left ESPN and went back to Hollis, Queens. You're going to love it.
Okay, let's see what you got to say.
The hypocrisy of your father. I mean, not only was he living off your mother, making your life horrible. The shocking revelation that he had a whole second family going somewhere.
Yeah. I get off the plane at LaGuardia Airport, and some little kid comes up to me and jumps in my arms. I had no idea who he was. And my father was right behind him, and I knew clearly because that was the case, he knew the kid. I said, "Who is this?" He said, "It's your little brother." And
Just like that.
Just like that.
No,
no
it's
warning, no
crazy.
anything. No warning, no anything. And then he took me in the car. And when he took us in the car to drive me home to Hollis, put me in the back seat because somebody was in the front seat, and that was his mistress. And when the mistress was in the car, and I saw that, I knew at that moment what this was, and I was like, "Holy shit!" This is because all I could think about was my mother. I grew up on 203rd Street in a Hollis, and he dropped me off right on the corner of 111th Avenue, and he said, "Don't tell your mother that I had anybody with you." And I walked in the house, and the first thing my mother asked me after she said hello, she said, "Your father dropped you off?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Was he by himself?" And I said, "Yes." And
You lied.
It was the only lie I've ever told my mother. I've never harbored animosity towards him over me. It was the treatment of my mother that I could not take.
When you started to get successful,
Yeah,
and really make some serious dough,
yeah.
did suddenly he try to change the history between the two of you?
You're damn right he did. He most certainly did. A matter of fact, it happened, one of the days happened in the dining room of my mother's house. I would tell you this is about 10 years ago. About 10 years ago. So he's complaining because Christmas comes by, Christmas comes and goes. And my mother, I've sent her on a cruise to Europe. My father, I bought him the club. Remember that club that you put on your steering wheel for the car?
Yeah.
I brought
So
him
your
the club.
car doesn't get stolen?
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
I bought him the club, right? I bought him the club. And he was like, "What the hell is this?" And he was like, why didn't I get, the kind of gift you gave your mother? I said, "'Cause you ain't mom." And so that led to an argument in front of my Uncle Freddie, who's now deceased as well. And Uncle Freddie was right there, and my father tried to tell me what kind of a father he was, and you don't know what the hell you talking about, and you don't know what I've done. And I went in on him, and I said, "You did this in 1978. You did this in 1983. You did that in 1988. You did that in 1991. My Uncle Freddie looked at him and said, "Basso, shut the fuck up. Your son is a journalist. He knows what he's talking about. He can chronicle everything you've done. You've got no shot to win this argument. Shut the fuck up."
Okay. So everybody heard that clip right there. For many people, this might have been the first time they've ever heard this. That was my first time ever hearing it too. Like, yeah, did you hear this before? Well, you probably have.
I heard it before when that whole situation popped off with Kyrie. This came up in my feed, and I was like, "What the hell?" And I listened to it, and I said, "Okay, so number one, so you just nice and free with the F word and the S word. Two, of course, Robin was in the back cackling, like he said something impressive. But three, the way you describe this to this man, how you interacted with your father. But I think he's secretly jealous that Kyrie and his father have a loving relationship.
That's what I got from it too. That's exactly what struck me, is that he's envious of the relationship that Kyrie and his dad have, which is a strong father and son bond, especially since, in our community is always the other way around. And, I guess he felt in that moment, he felt that he was into a stereotype. His dad was pretty much a deadbeat. He was messing around with this mistress, had a child outside of another relationship. He lived with his mother, who basically became a single mother, and then he ended up getting envious towards his dad and all types of stuff like that. So he felt like a stereotype, and now he feels like in order to get his revenges, he has to go against people who don't fall into that. And Kyrie is like public enemy number one to him.
Right. And let's also not forget that whole LeVar Ball situation.
Yes.
Let's not forget that. He could not punk that man. And then what ended up happening? He gets banned from ESPN. Because he couldn't
beat him.
Couldn't beat him.
He couldn't beat him.
And then they had to lie, talking about he said something out of pocket to Molly Karam. Yeah, okay.
Exactly. And it's great. And notice Stephen A. Smith, he tightened right on up when he tried to check Michelle Beadle. Granted, all the stuff that he was saying, he wasn't lying, but they had to still make sure to put him in his place, and he ain't got out of line since. And how many years ago was that?
Well, remember, he did get suspended.
Yeah, he got suspended. That was the warning shot, but he didn't toe that line ever since.
Right. Boy, oh boy.
And I think what made this interesting, like you said, he went and told this to Howard Stern.
Yeah. Now he was on a book tour, to be fair. He was on his book tour.
Okay.
To be fair. But still, you went into graphic detail about
that's
a conversation with your father.
That's almost like him going to have a talk with the Russian.
Yes, sir.
You know who I'm talking about when I say that.
You know who you're talking about.
But yeah, so that's just the first clip right there. But there's also some other clips. Now, these other clips are separate from what we heard as far as him with Howard Stern. But it does relate more to what we really want to get into, which of course is about his issues with Kyrie Irving. Now, I think there's like 3 clips, and I think they're like all like about 30 seconds each. But this is the first one right here, and it's coming off of this page called the Kyrie's Superfan 11. I'm gonna read what the tweet says. It says, Stephen A. Smith is a bitter man that manipulates and gaslights his audience. This has surpassed basketball and is personal. How are you going to call Kyrie Irving a good guy, but then allude that his dad is a bitch by calling him emotional and out of pocket? Let's see what he says.
Kyrie Irving is a good guy. Kyrie Irving doesn't wish harm or maliciousness upon anybody. I've had issues with his dad because of how his dad came at me. His dad is not a bad person. He gets a bit emotional and steps out of pocket, but he's not a bad person.
So what do you think about that?
Is he insane?
Everything that he said about
go ahead.
I didn't mean everything he said about his dad can equally be said about him.
Sir, he's defending his son. That's what any father does. They defend their kids. Sir, let me ask you a question, Stephen A. Smith. Would you have done this with Ja Morant's daddy? Because I noticed you ain't had this smoke for him when Ja Morant went into counseling. Did you say anything about his father? Why his father didn't help check his son?
Nope.
Sir, come on. It is, boy. You know what it is? It's because Kyrie Irving's from Jersey. That's what it is. It's a New York, New Jersey thing.
Oh, God.
That's what it is.
Listen, it's so crazy when you say that, because I went to school when I was in college. I went to school with so many people in that tri-state area who was from New York, New Jersey, and you bet not I guess you say misplace whoever was from where. You bet not say a person was from Jersey and say, oh, you New York, New Jersey, same thing. That was an easy way to get checked. Trust me on that one. I never did it. Like I was never one to risk it, especially since I was so cool and still am with the people who I hung out with when I was in college, which was mostly people from that area. But you better not try to say that those two places were the same exact thing. That's almost like someone who's from Philly. They say they're from Philly. Everything else is PA.
Yeah, in fact.
But yeah. But that was the first clip right there. Now we have this next one right here. That's 26 seconds. Let me see what this one is saying. It says, this guy has an agenda to ruin Kyrie Irving's career and legacy. He calls Kyrie a good guy, but then tries to create a new narrative that his sage is weed. Let's see what they're talking about.
While the smoke is blowing all over him. And it is sage, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the problem, Kyrie Irving. Do you really think those executives that are looking at you and contemplating the possibility of giving you the money that you want are looking at that and noticing it's sage? You sure they're not thinking it's weed? You sure they're not thinking you're getting high?
I think people would know the difference.
Oh my God.
Or should know the difference between sage and weed.
Is he insane?
I think he might be. He might need to go, he might need to go to the same counseling that John Moran is going to.
Stay off the weed. You got hot because of that, sir. Come on, sir. Oh my God. Less to my knowledge, I don't think Kyrie Irving even drinks.
Right. He seems to be a person who's very health conscious.
Right. I mean, he didn't even want to take the Bell Biv DeVoe.
Right. Exactly. And remember, Stephan A. Smith was mad about him about that. Mm-hmm. Like he raised hell and high water because he didn't want to take that thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's when that's when I really started to notice something, like something was going on, was right around that time. I don't know if it was anything going on before then, but I really saw it was something personal right there. I said, this is more than just that thing. This is something more deeper.
Right. And then what happened to Stephan A. Smith when he took the thing? Yeah, he fell out.
Yep. He sure did. He caught the woo-woo. And to my knowledge, did Kyrie ever get it?
No.
There you go.
No.
All right, I think this is the last one right here. It says here he is creating another narrative by saying Kyrie doesn't deserve a max contract because he has issues and doesn't want to work.
If Kyrie Irving, with all of his shenanigans, all of his issues, whatever they may be, if Kyrie Irving is going to show up to work, ladies and gentlemen, play that brother $50 million a year. Give him a 4 or 5 year deal. Give him a 4-year deal for $200 million. Go ahead.
Notice the tone change. Like, he literally went through 3 levels of tone from the first video to the second video to this one. His voice escalated every time.
He always gets animated when he talks about another black man's pockets.
Right.
Bruh, you get $12 million from ESPN. Be happy. Stop checking another black man's pockets.
Right. He's like the highest paid person over at ESPN. He's literally their Tucker Carlson.
Yes.
Like, he's the face of the ESPN brand. And he's all worried about what Kyrie Irving got going on for whatever reason. And I have to say whatever reason because we still don't know what the hell the reason is. He says he has this personal beef with Kyrie Irving and his dad, but we still don't know what it is. He keeps bringing it up, but he doesn't go into detail. And like you said, it's because he wants Kyrie and his dad or one or the other to respond. And because they're not giving him the energy, he's getting more and more upset.
Yeah. But I seem to remember also that, hey, Stephan A. Smith, you got all this smoke for black men, but when Rihanna checked you, you bowed down now, didn't you?
What did she say? I forgot.
When he criticized her Super Bowl performance.
Oh, see, I didn't pay it. See, I didn't watch that.
Oh, yes. Over the Super Bowl remarks. He said something, and Rihanna got on her Twitter that she doesn't really get on. I think it was Twitter, and checked him. Because he said she's not Beyonce. Rihanna said, she basically said, who are you? You better take this down. He apologized for 3 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. 3 minutes.
Well, clearly we know that Rihanna is not Beyonce, just like we know Beyonce is not Rihanna. Those are 2 different levels of talent right there. So, like, that was a weird thing to say. Is like, well, thank you, Captain Obvious.
Yeah.
I looked at her performance. She wasn't trying to be her either. I mean, the woman was pregnant. It was only so much movement she was going to do.
Right. Well, this was before the performance because she was saying Beyonce performed at the Super Bowl. So basically you have something, you have a bar that's set. But still, you don't mess with the Navy. You do not do this. They will come at you, and then he apologized for 3 minutes. Yeah, okay, but you got all that smoke.
Because they invaded that thread. That's what that was. They was about to get him up out of there. So yeah,
and ESPN was probably like, listen.
He had to grovel for a couple of minutes.
Facts. You better you better go say sorry.
Exactly.
Or we're gonna suspend you.
Right. So this was all the clips right here. And right now, what we're going to do is we're going to go over into the article. And I hate that we got to go to this website, but you know, it is what it is. And I think it's because they were a little bit more detailed compared to some other things that I saw, and that's over here on Fox News, their sports division.
Yes.
And this was posted on March 12th, 2023, which was 3 days ago from us recording this video. It says ESPN Stephen A. Smith reveals quote unquote personal beef with Kyrie Irving. He doesn't reveal much that we don't already know, which is nothing because he doesn't say anything. He doesn't go into detail. It says ESPN pundit Stephen A. Smith revealed he and Dallas Mavericks star Kyrie Irving have an issue on a personal level as he opened up about a heated moment with Jay Williams on his show First Take. And that was like pulling teeth because he tried to tell Jay Williams that it wasn't personal, but went on Pat McAfee and said that it was. Smith and Williams got into a tiff around the time Irving was traded from the Brooklyn Nets to the Mavericks in February. The tension was heated between the two sides, and Smith talked about it on Bet Rivers, the Mike Missanelli podcast on Wednesday. He said he was unsure what the deal was with Williams, but admitted he had a personal beef with the superstar point guard. Now, Kyrie and I have our differences on a personal level, which is nobody's business, which is none of anybody's business, and I'll never tell why. Then why would you put it out there then? Because now you're going to have people wanting to know what it is naturally.
He wants somebody to pay him to spill the beans. Maybe TMZ.
No, if he go to TMZ, they're going to pay him in dust, and he'll collect that dust and put it in his pocket too, like his currency.
Yeah, and then Van Lathan get at his neck.
It says he knows why, and his daddy knows why. They know how I feel about how they've acted towards me, and they know how I feel about them and how they feel about me. But I can say that to anybody out there because I know that does not interfere with my reporting on him and my perspective based off of the facts. This sounds like something he wrote in a diary, and now he's exposing what he wrote to the world like we care. Dear diary, Kyrie bad. Kyrie daddy's evil. I'm the victim.
Are you trying to say he's doing
Diary.
like the Clarissa Explains It All move?
Exactly. We're showing our age when you said that. I just want you to know. Like, if there's anybody of a certain age out there that's like, you know, probably in their 20s, they'd be like, who was that? Yeah. But yeah, but that's what it sounds like. It sounds like he's writing in a diary. Like he just opened up the book, wrote and penciled in the date and said, Dear Diary, and just started to write. And this is what he's telling us, especially this line right here. He knows why, and his daddy knows why. They know how I feel about how they've acted towards me, and they know how I feel about them, and I know how they feel about me. But I can say that to anybody out there because I know that does not interfere with my reporting on him in perspective based off of the facts. He put I know a lot in this statement.
This guy. Well, you know, it's like you always say, brother. It's like you always say. Even a certain person can see this.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to link you something. I want you to use this. Even though, yes, you always tell us this, even a certain person can see this.
I think I know who you're talking about. Is the person still alive?
Yes.
Okay, I know. I know who you're talking.
I put it in. I put it in the back channel. You can.
I'll check it.
Yeah.
It goes on to say Irving has taken the brunt of the criticism in his Nets tenure for skipping several games in 2021 while he chose to take some time away from the team to address some personal issues. And then last season when missed games due to his decision not to get the thing. And I think that's where, like I was telling you before, I think this is where, like, well, for me, where I saw this little dust kick up start with him was right around this region right here. See, I think the thing is, it's no surprise that Stephen A. Smith is a Nets fan. He is a huge Brooklyn Nets fan. But the thing of the matter is that he keeps hammering down on Kyrie Irving for whatever reason. I said I have a feeling also too, on top of what we're saying about the envious between the father-son relationship they have. I think Stephen A. Smith might be envious of Kyrie Irving because of the talent he has that he lacks.
Facts.
I think he probably had hoop dreams that just went by the wayside, and he saw himself in Kyrie Irving. And for all we know, I wouldn't be surprised if you went to Stephen A. Smith's house and you saw a shrine of Kyrie Irving.
Wow.
Somewhere in there. Sort of like,
but remember, he cracked his knee in his senior year.
So there you go. Dreams deferred. I mean, it's over.
Yeah.
You mess that knee up, that's it. You know how long it takes to recover from a torn ACL?
No, his knee. He cracked.
Oh, you say his knee. Oh.
Yeah, he cracked his knee. Like I think the first game of his senior year, he cracked his knee. Like cracked it in two.
Well, there it is. Or for all like I said, it's so many speculations that we can make. I hope it's not a thing of that he didn't want to do an interview with him. That would be beyond petty. I'm sure it's a lot of people out there who have turned down interviews with Stephen A. Smith. And he never goes off on them the way he goes off on Kyrie. And the thing is, the way he keeps dragging this along, I bet you it's something so minuscule. And it's like, you dragged all of this out for that.
Right. Brother,
the guy make it seem like he came in and pulled an armed robbery.
Well, you know, this is Stephen A. Smith's jig for like the last 30 years generalize everything.
Exactly. The theatrics is real.
Yeah.
It says this season Irving was criticized when he appeared to tweet a link to a movie on Amazon that spreads so-called, I'm gonna just put it like that. Smith was one of the pundits and analysts who criticized Irving for failing to disavow so-called quicker. Of course he was, and I think that's the whole article right there.
I think this all stems from Allen Iverson and the way he was acting with them.
What was going on with that?
Remember when Iverson came in and he was working at the Philadelphia Inquirer, and he would basically cover the Sixers every day, and he developed that relationship with Allen Iverson. I think they kind of fell out like in his later years because he would start talking about stuff that they said in confidence.
Mm-hmm. I just saw the picture that you sent me. I don't know if I should post that up there, but that's
don't
crazy.
do that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
But this, he has a thing with point guards. I don't get it. Because if it wasn't, once it went from Iverson, then it went over to Stephon Marbury.
Mm-hmm.
Then
was that his position?
About what? No,
like when he played, was that his position?
Yeah, he was a point guard. Yeah.
So there it is.
Yeah, he has a thing with black point guards. He criticized the hell out of Isaiah Thomas when he was the Knicks GM, but you know, he deserved to get criticized. He actually, I'm not even going to get into the Nuka Brown Sanders situation. I'm not even going to talk about that. That could be forever. But there was that, and then he went in on Derrick Rose. Then I think he went in on who was it? I forget who it was. And now it's Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, so it's like he's going through a Rolodex.
Right.
Yeah, so
and John Morant now John Morant, he's a point guard. He gonna go in on him now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he giving him grace because he's going to counseling, because if he would have said something out of pocket, his daddy come see him. Or the goons. or the goons. The goons.
Right.
Yeah, he don't mess with no goons.
So now it's getting a little bit more interesting, because I didn't know what position that he played when he was in high school, but now to know that he played.
Well, this was college at Winston.
College.
Yeah, that's when he cracked his knee in college.
Okay, so now knowing that he played point guard when he was in college, and seeing that most of his targets are black point guards, now it's getting even more interesting. Like I said, hoop dreams deferred, and he's seeing what could have been. He's looking at these athletes who play that particular position as what could have been for him, and where he could have been. He could have been in the Hall of Fame somewhere if he was any good. I don't know what his stats were, but he sees himself there, and he's envious. It's clear he's jealous. Like, we pretty much established that right there. So we see the jealousy on the side of the family side, where he didn't have a good relationship with his dad, based on what we heard on that Howard Stern interview. And it seems like he's envious of these players because he wasn't able to get to that point because of an injury.
Yeah.
I think that's what I think that's part
I'm
of
sorry,
it.
I had it backwards. He lost his scholarship to play at Winston-Salem, but I think he paid to go to school, or they might have switched the scholarship, and that's why he went into journalism. I think I
But
had
he
it
still
backwards.
but he still cracked his knee, right?
But he still cracked his knee. Oh wait, I don't know. It says Winston-Salem State point guard 1987 to 1991.
It doesn't say anything about an injury.
It said once he cracked his kneecap. Oh, he was talking about playing professionally.
Yeah, professionally. Yeah.
Okay, it makes sense. He says college stats are nowhere to be found. I guess we're gonna have to go to Winston-Salem and find it. I'm sure it's in the book somewhere.
And notice and Pete also too how he and Skip Bayless are like almost one and the same, because Skip Bayless, he peaked in high school. It wasn't because of injury. I guess he wasn't that good. And they pulled his stats, but
yes, sir.
He peaked in high school. Like there was no hoop dreams for him. And look at who he likes to target the most: Black athletes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're starting to creep into a realm of slowly finding out where all this animosity is coming from not only Stephen A. Smith, but also Skip Bayless, even though he's not the topic of discussion. But they're very similar, and it's crazy that they used to be on a show together. I'm like, y'all have no idea how much alike y'all truly are. Y'all just couldn't get along on that set with each other because that's two egos clashing with each other. One filled with self-hate and the other one who's very anti-black.
Yes, sir.
So I think we're getting close to cracking the Da Vinci Code.
The Da Vinci Code?
Right. I like that one better.
Oh, I might have we might have to do a thumbnail for that. The Da Vinci Code.
Yeah.
Boy. Hey, Stephen A. Smith, by the way, folks, this is not indicative of Hollis, Queens. We've had many great people come out of Hollis, Queens, like LL Cool J, Run DMC, myself, Stephen A. Smith to a certain extent, and others. So don't use that as a justification to hate on Hollis, Queens.
Right. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like we don't have really much anything else to go on with that one.
Exactly.
But short, sweet, to the point. We got out what we needed to say, but I have a feeling this ain't gonna be the last time. With him, he'll be back in the news again, talking some mess. Shoot, he probably talking stuff right now as we speak. But before we get up out of here, Kid Gravity, let the people know where they can find you.
You can find me on my YouTube channel at Kid Gravity Beyond. So please come in, like, share, and subscribe, and get some knowledge, because I am part of New Black Media. And also, you can find me on Twitter at The Kid Gravity, Instagram Kid Gravity Beyond. So yes, and I also have my podcasts on everywhere you stream your ratchet music.
Right, and I'll leave the link to his platforms down in the description, so you can go ahead and check that out as well. But we about to get up out of here. We came on here, did what we had to do, but I have a feeling this ain't gonna be the last. I already know, I know for a fact that it won't be. Mm-hmm. This guy's a serial repeat offender when it comes to the Bed Bucking Hall of Shame. He can't help himself. Wow. With that being said, we about to be out. Be one, and we'll talk to y'all later.
Yes, sir.